Welcome to another episode of Untold Legends, where I take a deep dive into your favorite fictional stories. Last time on the Metroid series, I detailed the conclusion of the Metroid Prime trilogy. Dark Samus took control of the space pirates and all-out warfare against the Galactic Federation ensued across multiple worlds. Samus discovered the source of the Phazon infection corrupting planets throughout the galaxy and dismantled the space pirate plans, before they could use its power to become an unstoppable force of destruction. In the end, Dark Samus was defeated, and the living planet Phase exploded. The mission was successful, and the threat of Phazon seemed to be over. But the story of Metroid Prime would continue with another entry in the Metroid universe. Another entry that was widely unwanted. How can that possibly happen, you ask? How could a new entry in the Metroid series be looked upon so negatively? The answer could be found in the condition the series was in after the release of Metroid Prime 3. After years of consistent releases across various consoles, Metroid went mostly quiet besides a trilogy collection and a Wii entry with mixed reception. It seemed that Nintendo was finally putting Metroid in the back seat, and fans were thirsting for another quality Samus adventure. But in 2009, Metroid producer Kensuke Tanabe began working on a prototype for a new entry. This one included ideas for online co-op and was being created for the Nintendo DSi, but he determined that the hardware wasn't strong enough to fulfill his vision just yet. The answer to the problem? The new Nintendo 3DS, built with stronger hardware and a C-stick. The Vancouver-based Next Level Games was given the task of developing the new Metroid game, the same developer behind other Nintendo exclusive titles such as Punch-Out for the Wii, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and Super Mario Strikers. And besides working on some of the mech designs, Retro Studios wasn't directly involved this time. As work began, the game was titled Metroid Prime Federation Force, and was imagined as a story that revolved around the role of the Galactic Federation, an expansion of the existing Metroid Prime universe that would experience Samus from an outside perspective instead of being the main playable character. A Wii U version of Federation Force was considered, but it would have required more resources than anticipated, so it was planned as a launch title for the new Nintendo 3DS, but ended up releasing for all existing 3DS consoles. Without the C-Stick, a Circle Pad Pro or motion controls could be used instead. When 2015 arrived, the new Metroid entry was ready to be revealed to the public, and it was a disaster. While fans anxiously anticipated another Metroid release, they were shown a game that lacked all the traditional Metroid elements. The presentation had no presence of Samus, and focused almost entirely on the game's first-person shooting mechanics and multiplayer modes. And similar to the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker reveal, fans had strong opinions on the cartoony, chibi stylized graphics. At this point, Other M was released 5 years before, and Metroid Prime 3 was released 8 years before, and now the series was making its grand return with a handheld exclusive, non-Samus side game. Fans were not happy. Within the first day of its announcement, the debut trailer on YouTube gathered over 25,000 dislikes versus 2,500 likes. And a Change.org petition called for its cancellation only hours after it was announced. Nintendo made the mistake of going on defense. Former Nintendo of America president and chief operating officer Reggie Fils-Aimé recognized the negative reception and responded with the quote, "We believe that in order to propel the franchises forward, we have to be the ones to constantly challenge the paradigms, challenge the conventional wisdom, challenge what we thought was the essence of the particular franchise." And Nintendo of America's executive vice president of sales and marketing, Scott Moffat, simply stated, "Let's be happy for what we have." The effect? Nintendo went silent and quietly continued to develop Federation Force in the background. In a 2017 Nintendo Direct, they detailed the game further and the new trailer to go along with it. It received a 2-to-1 dislike ratio, resulting in Nintendo disabling the public likes and dislikes. In order to crush some of the negative criticism, Nintendo later clarified that Federation Force did indeed have a single-player component, and Samus was actually part of the game. August 19th, 2016. Federation Force launches to very little fanfare. Most reviews for the game were divided between negative and mixed, with many gaming sites criticizing the lack of mission variety, level design, lack of voice chat, officially becoming the lowest rated game in the entire Metroid series. By Nintendo standards, it was also a commercial failure. In Japan, it sold less than 4,000 copies upon release, and failed to enter the top 20 on sales charts. In North America, it also failed to enter the top 10 games of August. The fans had spoken. This is not the Metroid they wanted. To be fair, I do think the game is actually pretty decent with an interesting story, yet it was a victim of Nintendo's own failed marketing, focusing too much on the multiplayer aspect and avoiding the topic of Samus for much of its advertising campaign. Fans stopped paying attention. Some still don't realize that the game even has a campaign. So what is the story? What was Samus up to after the destruction of Phase? And how does it directly involve the Galactic Federation? Quick note before starting as usual, this isn't a gameplay walkthrough, so some filler missions that aren't important to the story may not be mentioned, and some gameplay progression may be presented in a different order for story purposes. With that said, I would like to welcome you to the Metroid Timeline Chapter 7, the Doomseye Weapon. Samus Aran was successful in her last mission, finally uncovering and destroying the source of Phazon infections that were appearing throughout the galaxy. Dark Samus was destroyed, and the space pirates publicly were in complete disarray. Without strong leadership, attacks were becoming more rare, and some believed the space pirates were no longer a threat. It seemed like finally the galaxy would have some semblance of peace. But the loss of Phazon didn't only affect the space pirates. The Galactic Federation now had one less weapon to research and add to their arsenal. Other measures had to be developed to keep the galaxy safe and be ready for a possible space pirate resurgence. And so the Galactic Federation launched Project Golem, a classified program that recruited the most elite members of the Galactic Marines. They were put through some of the most intense training in order to pilot specially designed mechs, massive armor suits that were partially based on the Chozo power suit worn by Samus. The Marines trained aboard the GFS Aegis under the command of General Alex Miles, using simulations of space pirate attacks and weapon systems similar to the ones Samus Aran normally used. With their training complete, the elite Marines recruited into Project Golem graduated and were inducted into the newly activated Federation Force. Although they graduated from the initial training program, they still needed to test their skills in real-world missions, where they would learn to depend on each other and value the power of teamwork. The GFS Aegis established its base of operations in the Bermuda system, an isolated corner of the galaxy consisting of 3 planets. For their first mission, the troops were deployed to the icy world of Excelsior. Excelsior once looked very different, but like many planets in the galaxy, it suffered a meteor strike 20 years before. The impact thrust the planet into extreme environmental changes, and it was currently experiencing an ice age. When the Federation first explored the planet, they discovered that it was filled with valuable natural resources and established mining facilities to collect them. But as the ice age set in, wild creatures from the polar regions migrated to other parts of the planet and infested the Federation research facilities. The situation on the ground became too dangerous for the Federation staff stationed on Excelsior, and the mining operations had to be discontinued. The Federation force's priority was to destroy the infestation and re-establish a base of operations. Once the troops landed, they discovered a species of ice hoppers making their home on the base. Small, aggressive predators that could travel in packs and could move underground, emerging without warning. To clean out the infestation, they had to remove the source of the ice hoppers, a large tree-like nest that was actually a living organism breeding more of them, and large beasts known as ice titans were also seen in the area. Ice Hopper Nest and the Ice Titan were destroyed. Although the mission was an excellent first step, it was likely that more of them were still lurking in the region, so Federation staff chose to wait to move back in. In the meantime, the Federation force was deployed to Bion for their second mission. Bion was quite the opposite of Excelsior. It was the smallest planet in the Bermuda system, and its natural environment was dry and volcanic, with large amounts of magma spewing from its interior. Not much was known about Bion, but the planet was covered in old ruins, and the Federation believed an ancient race once existed there. But exploring the planet exposed no trace of them. The Federation assumed these Bionians were extinct, leaving only echoes of their culture behind, which made the objective of the Federation force's mission even stranger. There was a mysterious signal coming from the planet, but no intelligent life was known to currently exist, and the signal was coming from a temple too deep within the planet to be scanned from orbit. As the Federation force explored Bion and traveled through the temple ruins, they came upon the technology the Bionians used. Surprisingly technologically advanced orbs that likely had multiple purposes, such as mechanisms for locking doors or holding information. Within the temple, the Federation force also discovered a suspiciously empty altar. Its position within the temple and elaborate design implied that the altar was meant to display an important object up until recently. But who could have been there before the Federation's arrival? The signal itself was coming from another orb. The Federation force had to take it back so researchers could uncover the mysteries found within. And their presence on the planet disturbed the local wildlife, a variation of the hoppers found in Excelsior, the fire hoppers. They were similar to their ice hopper cousins, but many were larger and were resistant to the planet's hot temperatures.
Extractor deployed.
Once the orb was taken back to base, its researchers discovered that it was some sort of distress signal that dated back to just before the Federation believed the Bionians went extinct. It seemed that they were calling to the stars for help, and nobody came. General Miles was more concerned that someone had visited the temple before them, but he had no answers yet. The third planet of the Bermuda system would be the location of the Federation Force's third mission, the planet Talvania. Talvania was once the home of an advanced race of machines, a planet filled with noxious fumes and toxic gases, hazardous to most organic life. The creators of the machines were unknown, but the machines had long abandoned Talvania, leaving the facilities they built behind to fall into disrepair and ruin. Their only remnants were more basic security robots. Galactic Federation scan detected an electromagnetic interference coming from a specific power station, which shouldn't even be functional. The Federation force missions that seemed to start off as a simple bug hunt were starting to appear much more important. Someone or something was operating in the Bermuda system undetected. The disturbance was coming from the power station generator at the core of the facility. If it were destroyed, the entire power station would be deactivated. Destroying the generator unleashed a highly corrosive gas. The Federation force had to evacuate immediately, and with the entire power station offline, the interference emanating from the planet was expected to cease. But before they could escape, the mysterious group operating in the Bermuda system revealed themselves. General Miles was shocked to see them, since it had been some time since their activity was picked up. It was now clear that they'd been operating the Bermuda system for some time, hidden from the eyes of the Galactic Federation. And they were no ordinary space pirates either. The Federation understood the space pirates augmented themselves at a genetic level regularly, but these troops were massive, about the same sizes as the Omega pirates seen on Talon 4, except these had no traces of Phazon. With the space pirate presence exposed, the Federation knew they were hiding something. It was time to call in the big guns. It was time to call in Samus Aran. The call was placed. Samus Aran was hired by the Galactic Federation to investigate the appearance of the space pirates and their activity in the Bermuda system, while the Federation force continued their operations, aware of the new threat. If the space pirates were present on Talvania, the chances were high that they spread to Excelsior and Bion as well. On Excelsior, the Federation was trying to keep the Ice Titan population under control and contain them where they wouldn't present a threat to researchers. And the space pirates were seen stealing one from its habitat. For some reason, they were studying these large creatures, while they themselves were unnaturally large. Meanwhile, Federation researchers continued studying the artifact retrieved from Bion. It contained a detailed map of the planet and the location of a data codex. The space pirates were also present on Bion, confirming suspicions that they were present throughout the entire system, and that they stole the first data codex. Whatever secrets they were hiding involved the Bionians. Samus worked quickly. She had already gathered information on the space pirate bases. The Talvania base was there for years, and from that location the space pirates sent operations out to Excelsior and Bion. Samus also discovered weapons factories on Talvania that the space pirates were using to arm themselves. The factories had to go, and Samus agreed to provide aid during the attacks. The weapons facilities were protected by an energy shield that the Federation force mech suits couldn't fit through, but a trooper outside of their own suit could sneak through. This mission would be a true test of Federation force skills. An extremely dangerous stealth mission. If they were caught, there would be no chance of extraction. Samus's intel revealed that each weapons factory had a command computer running all operations independently. If the computer system were compromised, the entire factory would be shut down. The Federation force troopers left their mechs outside and made their way through the factory. All the pirates were massive Omega pirate sized. Not being caught was of the utmost importance. Once the computer were compromised, the troops would have only a small window of time to escape. Once the troops were back on the GFS Aegis, General Miles received word that multiple missions were accomplished successfully across the planet. The other deployed squads and Samus destroyed the rest of the weapons facilities, but there were still many threats on other worlds. On Excelsior, a survey team exploring an underground lake was sending a distress beacon. They were trapped underground and were carrying important data that needed to reach the Federation. Once the Federation force followed the signal and arrived, they found the research team being terrorized by one of the planet's natural predators, the Saucon, a large serpent native to its freezing waters that could merge itself with others of its kind. But this one was much larger and much more violent than any ever seen before. Once the researchers were saved, they revealed the information they discovered, the secret of the Bermuda system. The space pirates were experimenting with technology that somehow allowed them to augment the size of organisms and control them. The underground lake was their testing ground. Additionally, Samus reported that the space pirates were working on some sort of large-scale strategic weapon with firepower on a scale never seen before. But Samus's data was still incomplete. She needed more time to discover what it was and where it was located. All she knew was that the space pirates planned to use the weapon against the Galactic Federation headquarters without even having to leave the Bermuda system. The Federation chose to continue studying the ruins on Bion to search for answers, and discovered an underground city. It was once a vibrant settlement, but volcanic eruptions buried it completely. They sent an unmanned probe to the surface to collect information, but a large creature was headed towards it, the Rokor beetle. It needed to be stopped before it can crush the probe.
400 meters away.
Thanks to Samus's appearance, the Federation force survived the encounter, and the underground city was scanned. The older cities and housing units on Bion were much smaller in size compared to the younger settlements, leading to the conclusion that the Bionians were manipulating their own biology somehow and augmenting themselves. The harsh environment on the planet eventually pushed them to create a device that could enhance their size, although this method failed to prevent their extinction. The space pirates had collected that data and created a device of their own, an amplification beam that can take any normal space pirate drone and turn it into a giant. If the space pirates converted an entire army using the amplification beam, they could possibly become too powerful to be stopped. But where was the beam located, and where were the remaining space pirates hiding? Back on Bion, a seismic disturbance was detected coming from below ground, and the Federation force was deployed to investigate the possibility of space pirate involvement. When they arrived, they found an artificial life form that had lost control, the Sirenon. The Bionians created it as their protector when they could no longer protect themselves from extinction, and it had been dormant since their disappearance. The space pirate raids of the Bionian ruins reactivated it, and the Federation force was directly in its crosshairs. After leaving Bion, the Federation attempted to contact Samus, and they feared the worst may have happened. All contact with her was suddenly lost. It was possible that Samus was working undercover and went silent purposely, but that was uncharacteristic of her. Without Samus, the Federation would be missing their biggest asset, and the space pirates would have almost nothing to fear. Once again, Bion became the subject of attention. With Samus missing, the Federation force was being stretched thin, investigating throughout the Bermuda system, and the current situation with the space pirates was too important for them to allocate resources to searching for Samus. An ancient skiff that transported goods between Bionian cities on a rail system began moving on its own. Was it possible that some Bionians may have in fact survived in small settlements? No activity suggesting that a functioning civilization still existed appeared before, but it was nothing more than a trap. The space pirates activated the skiff with the sole purpose of luring the Federation force, and there was still no sign of Samus. A mech suit against an entire space pirate warship would stand no chance, but luckily the skiff was equipped with primitive defense systems. The space pirate assault was foiled. When they arrived back on the ship, General Miles briefed the Federation force with news worse than anything else they faced in the Bermuda system. The space pirates on Talvania had a research site where they were experimenting with breeding Metroids. The entire facility, including all the Metroids within, had to be destroyed. Any other mission had to be put on hold until the Metroid threat was handled. General Miles also requested that the Federation force recover at least one Metroid egg if possible. They understood the danger the creatures presented, but the Federation had long wanted to study the Metroids closely, in an attempt to use their abilities for some sort of galactic benefit. The Federation force infiltrated the research site and found a heavily guarded facility, with automatic turrets and space pirates around every corner. Once inside, the horrifying truth behind the presence of the Metroid was worse than anticipated. The space pirates were also using the amplification beam on the Metroids, growing them to enormous unnatural sizes, which made them even more aggressive. The species on Talvania didn't have any trace of previous phase-on mutation, so they were likely taken from the Zeba's base before it was destroyed. As of now, it was believed the space pirates were still unaware of the Metroid presence on SR-388. Luckily, the Federation force was armed with similar ice missile technology that Samus carried, so they had some defense against the large Metroids. After fighting through its defenses, they successfully sabotaged the core of the base and began the self-destruct countdown. As a security measure, all of the Metroids were released. All of the known Metroids in the Bermuda system were annihilated, a huge blow to space pirate operations in the region. All that remained was the Metroid egg that was retrieved and stored in a secure location. Federation scientists immediately began studying it. If the space pirates succeeded in breeding and controlling huge Metroids, the terror they would have brought to the galaxy would have been extraordinary. After monitoring the movements of the space pirates, their headquarters were discovered on Talvania. They were previously unseen because the space pirates built the base deep underground. A plan was made to bring the threat to a conclusive end. A giant drill was deployed over the location of the base, and it would slowly drill a hole through the surface and into their base of operations. Then a bomb would be dropped inside, wiping them out completely from above. But the drill would take about 10 minutes to do its job. Without Samus's help, only the elite troops of the Federation force can handle such a monumental task. With one successful strike, this could all be over. The Talvania space pirate base, along with all life forms inside, were wiped out. Regardless, their operations continued. The only explanation was that the main base wasn't actually on Talvania. The space pirates must have been hiding somewhere off-world, but regional scans picked up nothing. Before Samus's disappearance, she left behind encrypted messages that took the Federation some time to decode. Once the messages were decoded, they showed that Samus already solved the secret of the Bermuda system. The space pirates were hiding their amplification beam within something they described as the Doomseye weapon, the fearsome weapon they received reports about previously. And it was somewhere in the Bermuda system, being hidden with some sort of powerful camouflage technology. There was no information on what the Doomseye weapon looked like, but it did require a massive amount of energy to hide. Samus's message also indicated that the camouflage technology hiding it was being generated from all 3 planets in the Bermuda system using transfer devices. These towers drew energy from within the planet and sent it into space to power the camouflage technology. That meant the size of the Doomseye weapon must have been larger than anyone expected. The Federation force had their mission: destroy each transfer device and uncover the Doomseye weapon's location. The plan worked. Without the transfer devices keeping their plans hidden, the space pirate Doomseye weapon was revealed. A weapon as terrifying as the Federation feared. The Doomseye weapon was actually a giant space station surrounded by a powerful shield and armed with a strong laser. It was visible now, but no Federation weapons could penetrate through its shielding. But small single-man units from the Federation force could fit through and work their way inside. The Federation fleet was devastated by the Doomseye weapon. 90% of its ships were either destroyed or heavily damaged, but the Federation force troops successfully piloted their mech suits inside. The remaining Federation fleet began an assault outside, mostly a distraction in order to give the troops time to figure out a solution. If they could find a way to disable the energy shield, the combined firepower of the remaining ships could be enough to destroy the Doomseye. As the Federation force attacked, they discovered the location of the amplification beam being used to increase the size of the space pirate forces and found someone familiar. At some point, the space pirates captured Samus and kept her in stasis, while the amplification beam was being used on her. Just like the space pirates, it increased her size massively, and she was quite literally under their control. Their greatest adversary, now their greatest weapon, the ultimate revenge of the space pirates. And now the Federation force had no choice but to attack the hero that inspired their own suits. The battle was over. The Federation force damaged Samus enough to counter the effects of the amplification beam, and she returned to her normal size. She was temporarily disabled, but Samus wouldn't be destroyed so easily. Her suit had already begun restoring her normal functions, and the Federation force continued searching for a way to disable the shield protecting the Doomseye. The shielding was controlled by a unit similar to the Aurora units the Galactic Federation used on board their ships, an organic supercomputer the space pirates referred to as the Master Brain. The Master Brain didn't have the fierce, independent artificial intelligence that Mother Brain was programmed with, but it was protected by its own basic shielding and automated turrets. It had to be destroyed if the Federation fleet outside were to stand any chance of not just victory, survival. Project Golem and the Bermuda system training operations led to yet another blow to the space pirates. And thanks to the help of Samus, the Federation force troops that were inside the Doomseye survived to fight another day. But now it was known that the space pirates were likely still out there, plotting and reorganizing. The galaxy would still be in peril, and the Galactic Federation would need to be vigilant. And quietly, behind the scenes, the bounty hunter Silex that Samus encountered in the Tetra Galaxy had mysterious plans of his own. He followed Samus from Phase after its destruction, and he'd been monitoring the situation in the Bermuda system. His target? The Metroid Egg the Federation force retrieved. Join me next time for the Metroid Timeline Chapter 8, Extermination. After the Space Pirates program breeding and enlarging Metroids, and the multiple times that Metroids threaten the galaxy, the Galactic Federation finally decides to take conclusive action. All remaining known Metroids must be destroyed, and Samus is given the duty to accomplish the mission. She travels to SR-388 and explores the planet that has become the Metroid's natural habitat over the years. But wiping out the Metroid threat would be much more difficult than anticipated, when she realizes what the Chozo already knew. The Metroids the galaxy has encountered time and time again were only babies.